Chairman. Um, Shortages in shipping containers, chassis, and truck trailers have all contributed to the supply chain problems that are the subject of this particular hearing. And I've seen media reports that describe these newly in-demand items as simple or an afterthought. In Wisconsin, however, we know that these products are actually highly engineered by companies like Stoughton Trailers, and the work of Wisconsin manufacturers is never an afterthought for me. What is overlooked is the decline of our manufacturing capacity, which has left us unprepared to respond to many of the problems that are created by pandemic. So in order to rebuild our manufacturing base and make products that we need for our supply chains right here in the United States, I've introduced the Supply Chain Resiliency Act. That legislation, which was referred to this committee, provides assistance to address supply chain bottlenecks by increasing production, domestic production. And I'm working to ensure that similar support is included in our Build Back Better legislation. So, Mr. Regan, in your view, how would increasing the domestic production of things like containers and chassis and trailers improve our supply chain bottlenecks? I guess reduce our supply chain bottlenecks would be a better way to put that. And what sort of emphasis should we be putting on Buy America and Make It in America?
Well, thank you, Senator, and thank you for your unwavering support for U.S. manufacturing and the good union jobs that it supports. I think you've really hit the nail on the head here. I mean, the fact that we are so reliant on foreign products, including chassis and other parts of the supply chain, and rail cars for that matter, really made us much more susceptible to failing when something like this happens, when we have a crisis. Increasing our domestic manufacturing capacity should be a priority for this Congress and for this administration. I know that it is for many of you. And also, as we start to see more emerging opportunities with new technology, things like electric vehicles and things like that, those are emerging markets. And we have an opportunity with the right type of investment and the right type of policies to make sure that the U.S. is getting an important part of that supply chain and that market share for manufacturing.
Thank you. I'm going to stick with you with this next question. I've been long concerned about rail service and competition. And these supply chain challenges underscore the need for structural changes for freight rail. At the Surface Transportation Board, Chair Marty Oberman has raised concerns about the significant impact that job cuts have had on the railroads. I know we've already been discussing that, about their ability to serve their customers and move goods across the country. Since 2014, the industry has cut about 30% of its workforce. And I introduced an amendment, as you gave it a shout out, to the NDAA that would direct the STB to develop standards and guidance related to their common carrier obligations. And in so doing, require the STB to consider workforce reductions and infrastructure maintenance by railroads. So now more than ever, the railroads really should be focused on their workers and shippers, not just shareholders. What do you see as the impact of these job cuts specifically on the ability of railroads to be able to provide reasonable service and, again, meet their common carrier requirements?
Thank you, and we talk a lot about this in our written as well. About precision scheduled railroading is what we like to call it. It's put a lot more of the onus on the shippers themselves. There's a lot reduced flexibility because of the sharp decrease in workforces and also in equipment. There's been a lot of mothballing of rail cars and closing of rail yards. So what shippers end up with is a take it or leave it approach. So it's essentially, can I reach this car and ship my goods, or am I going to have to try to catch the next train or use another mode of transportation? And oftentimes that alternative is far more expensive. I've spoken with Mr. Oberman quite a bit about this, and he does need the tools and the authority to be able to really look into it and investigate it and oversee to ensure that these railroads are fulfilling their common carrier obligations.
Thank you.